Let me speak to you plainly. You may believe your financial condition is the result of the economy, your job, your upbringing, or your lack of connections. But I say to you, these are not the root cause. They are merely the symptoms. The real reason you're still broke is because you think like someone who's supposed to be broke. You see, poverty is not a number. It is not the absence of a bank account or a fancy car. Poverty is a mindset. It is a habitual thought pattern, one forged through years of repetition, through beliefs you accepted without question. And until that pattern is broken, no amount of money will save you from yourself. Let me be even more specific. Every man walking the earth is carrying one of two invisible bank accounts in his mind. The first is built on fear, limitation, and scarcity. The second on faith, vision, and relentless belief in self. One bankrupts him daily. The other compounds into riches beyond his imagination. Now ask yourself this: which account have you been investing in? With your thoughts, your habits, your self-talk. Because long before a man earns his first fortune, he earns something far more powerful, a mental signature that welcomes wealth, a way of thinking that magnetizes opportunity, a daily discipline that repels excuses. If your instinct right now is to push back, to say, "But Napoleon, you don't know what I've been through. I want you to understand. I am not dismissing your hardships, but I am telling you that many men have faced equal or greater trials and turned them into triumph. Why? Because they changed the way they thought about what was possible. And I must tell you, very few will do this work. Most men will go their entire lives defending the very thoughts that keep them broke. But you, if you're still listening, you are not most men. You're here because something inside you is tired of scarcity, tired of scraping, begging, hoping, waiting, tired of pretending that someone else is going to come and hand you a better life. And that tiredness, that frustration is not a weakness. It is your fire being lit. It is the beginning of your transformation. Now, before we go further, I ask you to do something simple. Not for me, but for the part of you that refuses to die an average. Make sure this message finds you again. Subscribe, not out of habit, but out of commitment, because what's coming next, you won't want to miss. Now let us continue, because the next thing I must tell you is this: if you do not consciously choose the thoughts that dominate your mind, the world will plant weeds in it by default, and weeds never produce wealth. You must understand something. There is a war taking place inside your mind, and it has been raging since the first time you were told, "That's not realistic," or "People like us don't get rich." The enemy is not out there. It is not your job, your government, your parents, or your past. It is inside your head, in the quiet voice that whispers, "You're not good enough." You'll always struggle, or worse, you're being delusional for wanting more. Let me tell you the truth. That voice is a liar, a clever, consistent, familiar liar. It has dressed itself up as humility, as caution, as logic. But make no mistake, it is poverty in disguise. And unless you learn to confront that voice, to challenge it, interrogate it, and eventually override it, you will obey it, quietly, unconsciously, every day of your life. Let me give you an example. A man wakes up and says to himself, "I'll never be wealthy. I don't have a business degree. I'll never get out of this job. I have mouths to feed. I can't invest. I don't have anything left after rent." Now watch what happens. His brain, like a loyal but misguided servant, begins to prove him right. It filters out opportunity. It dismisses new ideas. It attracts more of the same, just enough to survive, but never enough to expand. And here's the devastating part. He thinks this is reality, but in truth, it's just a reflection of his most dominant belief. Every thought you think is a blueprint, and your subconscious mind is the builder. It cannot distinguish between truth and repeated fiction. It only builds what you feed it most often. So I ask you, what blueprints have you been handing your subconscious? Are they plans for prosperity or patterns of limitation? Are they blueprints of a castle or the floor plan of a cage? And now, my friend, we come to a fork in the road. You can continue on the well-worn path, the path where you wait, wish, and whine. Or you can step onto the road less traveled, where you design your thoughts like a master architect and build a reality the old version of you never thought possible. It won't be easy, but let me remind you, every rich man you admire started by changing what he tolerated in his mind. Not one of them stumbled into fortune by accident. They rewrote the script, line by line, thought by thought, and so must you. Now, if that voice inside you is still whispering doubt, I want you to do this. Drown it out with repetition, flood it with new possibility, and anchor yourself to messages like this. Messages that restore your strength, not drain it. In fact, take a moment right now to subscribe to this journey so that the reminders to think rich never fade, even when the world tries to make you small again. This isn't about hype, it's about habit, because the man who thinks like wealth eventually attracts wealth. Then, more importantly, he becomes someone no amount of money can define or destroy. Let us go deeper still, because the next step is where the transformation becomes irreversible. Now listen closely, even for what I'm about to say may offend your comfort, but it will liberate your potential. Comfort is the breeding ground of poverty. You've been taught to chase ease, to avoid struggle, to seek convenience over challenge. But let me ask you something. Where has that led you? Comfort has lulled millions into financial sleep. It has whispered, "You're doing okay," while bills pile up and dreams decay. It has made men defend mediocrity as if it were safety. It has made you loyal to your limitations and suspicious of your own greatness. But I say this to you without hesitation. Your desire for comfort must be destroyed, not because suffering is noble, but because growth is non-negotiable. You see, rich men, truly rich men, were not born in luxury. They were born in fire, forged in discomfort, tempered in discipline, and tested in moments when quitting seemed more reasonable than continuing. They chose to endure the temporary discomfort of growth rather than the permanent pain of regret. So ask yourself, what pain are you currently tolerating simply because it feels familiar? The pain of being broke, the pain of watching others win while you remain stuck, the pain of knowing you were built for more and yet doing nothing about it. That is not safety. That is slow self-destruction. Now, let me give you a tool, something the rich use, not just to make money, but to create freedom, deliberate discomfort. What do I mean by that? It means waking up earlier than your excuses. It means investing in your mind before you spend on your pleasures. It means sitting with your insecurities and turning them into fuel. It means doing the work you've been avoiding, even when no one is watching, applauding, or paying. And it means rewriting this dangerous belief: I'll start when I'm ready, because readiness never comes. But opportunity doesn't wait. The man who builds wealth starts with a shaky voice, a trembling hand, and a half-formed plan, and then refines it along the way. He doesn't wait for clarity. He creates clarity through action. So now I ask you again, and I ask you this not as a critic, but as your future self. What comfort are you willing to kill so your potential can finally breathe? Because here's what I know. If you are not uncomfortable, you are not expanding. And if you are not expanding, you are not attracting. Wealth does not flow to the man seeking comfort. It flows to the man becoming a match for it, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's what makes him rich long before the money arrives. So let me speak directly to the part of you that is awake, the part of you that knows you were not made for quiet desperation. Don't numb it, nurture it. And when the world tells you to relax, to take it easy, to just be grateful for what you have, I want you to do something radical, double down on discipline, triple your commitment, and become so focused on your vision that comfort becomes irrelevant. If this message is awakening something in you, good. It means you are finally tuning your frequency to wealth. So I encourage you, if you haven't already, align yourself with these reminders. Subscribe, not because it's a formality, but because it's a declaration, a vow that says, I will no longer think like I'm poor. I will build until wealth can no longer ignore me. And now, as we move into the next phase, I will show you how rich people shape their entire day, their actions, their energy, all starting from within, because the world outside will always reflect the mind inside. Let's go further. Let us now address one of the most overlooked truths in the pursuit of wealth. Your day is your destiny. You want to know what separates the man who attracts wealth from the man who chases it in circles? It's not brilliance, it's not connections, it's not even luck. It's how he structures the 24 hours he's been given every single day. The wealthy, those who create fortune by design, not accident, understand this. Every hour is a seed. Every habit is a hammer. Every choice is either constructing your empire or reinforcing your prison. The man who remains broke, he leaks energy by the minute. He starts his day with distraction. He postpones the difficult in favor of the convenient. He scrolls for dopamine hits while his dreams decay quietly in the corner of his mind. He tells himself, tomorrow I'll start. But tomorrow is just yesterday's lie in a new disguise. Let me be blunt, as only a friend of your future would dare be. You will never rise above the patterns you tolerate. You will never build wealth if your days are disorganized, distracted, and driven by impulse. I say this not to shame you, but to awaken you. Because when you realize that your future isn't hiding in some distant opportunity, but rather in how you execute today, you become dangerous. You become powerful. Let me ask you something direct. When was the last time you planned your day with the same intensity that others plan their escape? The wealthy plan their time like warriors prepare for battle. They do not leave success to chance. They weaponize routine. They build rituals that force greatness, even when motivation disappears. It's not about perfection. It's about repetition. It's about what you choose when no one is watching. So now I offer you this simple but transformative shift. Design your day as if you already were rich. Not in extravagance, but in discipline. Not in fantasy, but in structure. Ask yourself, if I already had the wealth I desire, how would I show up today? How would I speak, move, think, plan, and act? Then do that, because you don't become wealthy and then act the part. You act the part until wealth has no choice but to arrive. Now, I know some part of you may resist this. Your old self will whisper, but what if I do all this and still fail? What if it doesn't work? And to that I say, you've already failed by not doing it. So what's left to lose? Try it. Design the next 24 hours like a man who respects his future, and then string together another 24 and another until wealth starts showing up because you finally did. And here's a secret I'll share with only the few who are truly listening. Momentum is wealth in disguise. Every day you conquer builds not just skill, but self-respect. And a man who respects himself begins to attract everything that once ignored him. So if you're still here, still absorbing, still becoming, let this be your moment to align fully with this mission. Take a breath, make a vow, and subscribe, not to this channel alone, but to your new identity. A man who thinks richly, acts wisely, and builds daily. because now in the next part, we uncover the final fracture in the poor man's thinking, the fear of abundance itself. Let us go there together. Now, let me tell you something most won't dare say aloud. You're not just broke because you lack money. You're broke because deep down you fear what money will demand of you. You fear what it will reveal, what it will require, who you'll have to become to deserve it, and what you might lose when you get it. And so, without knowing it, you sabotage it, not because you hate wealth, but because you've never made peace with having more. Think about this. Have you ever caught yourself saying, money changes people? I don't need a lot, just enough to get by. Rich people are greedy, cold, disconnected. My friend, you may not realize it, but these aren't harmless phrases. They are weapons, not against the wealthy, but against your own financial future. Because how can you ever receive what you've taught yourself to distrust? If you've been conditioned to believe that money is evil, that ambition is arrogance, or that success must come with sacrifice of integrity, then part of you will forever resist prosperity, even when you say you want it. That's not logic, that's programming. Let me offer a reframe, a truth very few are willing to accept. Money simply amplifies the man. It does not corrupt him, it reveals him. If you are generous, disciplined, and purpose-driven, wealth will only magnify those traits. And if you are selfish, reckless, and lost, wealth will not save you. It will expose you. So you see, it's not the money that must change first. It's the man. You must become someone who feels safe having more, safe being seen, safe standing out, safe outgrowing the version of you who used to tolerate lack. Because I assure you, the universe will not give you what you secretly despise. You can repeat all the affirmations you want. You can journal, visualize, and meditate on abundance. But if there is a fracture inside of you, a belief that whispers, I'm not worthy, this is too much, or people will judge me, you will repel the very thing you say you want. So today I ask you, can you handle the weight of abundance? Can you rise to the level of a man who stewards wealth with honor? Can you carry more, not just for yourself, but for your family, your future, your mission? If you answered yes, then begin acting like it. Speak like it, move like it. Think like a man who is no longer afraid of overflow because he knows who he is. And let me tell you, once you cross that invisible threshold, once you stop apologizing for wanting more and start preparing for it, that's when the world shifts. That's when wealth stops avoiding you and starts respecting you. Now, as we prepare for the final part, I want you to pause. Let this settle deep into your bones. And if this voice has helped you clear even one mental blockage, then don't just keep scrolling through your life. Subscribe to these reminders. Let this be your lighthouse when the world tries to dim you again, because in the final part, we will bring all of this together. You'll learn how to finally and permanently rise into a state of wealth that no one can take from you. So now we arrive at the final truth, not just a lesson, but a transformation. You've come this far because something in you refused to stay broke, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You know now poverty is not just a condition, it is a conditioned mindset. And escaping it isn't about luck. It's about alignment. Alignment with wealth, with action, with belief, with yourself. So let me ask you plainly, what if money, the wealth you've been chasing, isn't running from you? What if it's simply waiting for you to become the man worthy of carrying it? Because wealth does not follow weakness. It does not respond to doubt. It does not submit to hesitation. It moves toward clarity, and clarity begins here. You decide what you want. You clear the noise. You stop apologizing for your desire. You act like the man who already owns the future he's building. You build until belief becomes fact. Now listen to me closely, as if your future depends on these next words, because it does. You must stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for validation. Stop asking if it's the right time. Stop explaining yourself to those who've never dared to dream. Stop tolerating circles, habits, and voices that reinforce your limits. Because as long as you surround yourself with people who fear abundance, you will self-sabotage your own arrival. This isn't just about making money. It's about becoming the kind of man who deserves it, sustains it, and multiplies it for others. A man whose energy commands attention, not because he's loud, but because he's clear. A man who doesn't need to beg, impress, or chase, because he is grounded in purpose, anchored in belief, and built on discipline. That is who wealth follows. That is who opportunity looks for. That is who the world respects, even before the money shows up. And the moment you decide to become that man, the game changes. The old version of you starts to die. The broke thinker, the excuse maker, the under-earner. And a new man rises, one who does not settle, one who no longer shrinks, one who builds even when no one claps, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, because he knows the reward is not just riches, the reward is becoming unbreakable. So I leave you with this. Start today, not tomorrow, not next year, today, because no one is coming to build this life for you. And that's your greatest gift, because now you realize that you don't need saving. You just need to decide. And once you do, truly, finally, and fully, the world will feel it, and money will follow you. If this has awakened something in you, something powerful, something real, then I invite you to anchor this transformation. Subscribe to this channel and let these words be the iron that sharpens you every day. Not for motivation, for evolution, because your future self is already watching.